This weekend, a championship season that will move to Silverstone, to the Hungaroring, to Spa, to Assen, to the Nürburgring, and end for 3 races at Hockenheim in early October. David Addison with you as we look down onto the grid, headed by the Force India junior driver Jahan Daruvala, and his Josef Kaufmann racing car took pole position in the qualifying period at the end of yesterday, which was a glorious Italian spring day with very strong sunshine, very high temperatures, and since then we've had a lot of overnight rain and track conditions, although dry largely, I suspect the track is going to have been somewhat washed. We've had a lot of activity this morning with GT cars, with Lamborghinis from the One Make Championship on track as well, but this is the first running that the Formula Renault drivers have had really just round onto the grid thus far, and they'll now discover how different from yesterday track conditions are. They're all the same car, different teams operate in Formula Renault, and a new intake of drivers. Now, some are back for a second, in fact, in some cases, third season of Formula Renault, and Jahan Daruvala is one of those drivers that we have become used to seeing. Josef Kaufmann's team took the title last year with Louis Delatraz. Jahan Daruvala, who's also racing in the Euro Cup, has switched from the Fortec team to join Josef Kaufmann for this year. Lining up second on the grid is Lando Norris. Lining up third is Dorian Boccolacci, and you're looking at the 4th car, which is that of Nikita Troitsky, the Fortec Motorsport driver who drove last year in the SMP Formula 4, the North European Zone Championship. He was 4th in that. You see the SMP Racing flashes as well as the colours on the car, and he's looking forward to his first season of Formula Renault. Some of the circuits will be new, some he will have done some testing at, but he's going to be a driver to look for. Yesterday's session came to an end 2 minutes before the very end, or the schedule end, because Julia Pankiewicz went off and damaged the car, brought out a red flag. There was no restart. They're 5th on the grid, Max Deforny. Now, he's one of the drivers back for a second year. Max was a winner last year, remember, in the wet at Spa, and Max driving for R-Ace GP, which was its previous name before it became ART Junior Team, and has now gone back to being R-Ace GP. He was also a winner in the Euro Cup series at Motorland Aragon a week ago. Second generation racer, because his father Didier Deforny was for a time the promoter of the Belgian Grand Prix, but also a very quick Chrysler Viper racer in the FIA GT Championship, and Max Deforny lines up 5th. It's the 1x1 stagger grid, as you see. Pole position is on the outside, which is the racing line, the ideal line down towards the first chicane, and the grid stretching all the way back to give us 12 rows in total. The last couple of cars there are driven by Julia Pankiewicz and Lawrence Hur as well, the 18-year-old who's come out of club racing. That's the pole position man. That is Jahan Daruvala in the distinguishable car, the colours of Force India. As I say, he's part of the F1 team's junior driver development programme. And what Josef Kaufmann Racing doesn't know about winning in Formula Renault just ain't worth knowing. So Daruvala will start as a favourite, and he was the best part of 0.3 of a second up in qualifying against this man, Lando Norris. Now, as ever, if there's something to race somewhere, some weekend in junior single-seater racing, Lando will take it. He's already been a race winner in the BRDC, now F3 Championship, its new title for the new car. He had 2 race wins in the the Euro Cup Formula Renault Championship a week ago, and now turning his attention to the Formula Renault NEC as well. So he does the miles, does Lando Norris. A very, very good British talent. He drove last year, for example, in the MSA Formula and in the ADAC German F4 Championship. Had a win in that, and also had a very spectacular accident at the end of the season. Dorian Boccolacci, 3rd on the grid, somebody that's switching from Formula 3, you could argue down to Formula Renault, but this might well be a better fit for him. He drives for Tech 1 Racing, but Dorian Boccolacci drove for Signature in Formula 3 last year. His pace was not bad, but there were occasions when he was a little bit anonymous in midfield, and maybe this is a better way of learning about slicks and wing single-seaters and then step back up again into Formula 3 in the future. 4th on the grid, we've already seen Nikita Troitsky, but the grid is now being cleared. We've got 1 minute before the formation lap. Formula Renault 2.0 NEC races, just to make the point, are 25 minutes, not a set number of laps. So it is 25 minutes of racing. Usual thing, flag goes out the first time the race leader crosses the line once 25 minutes of racing have been completed. And Werner Eichinger is, as normal, the race director. So as soon as he's happy with the countdown having been completed and everybody off the grid, then he'll release the cars for one final opportunity to have a look at this fabulous Italian parkland circuit that every time you come here seems to have another threat of its future, certainly for Formula 1 hanging over it. But it's a very big Saturday crowd here. A lot of enthusiasts have come to watch a real feast of racing this weekend. There's Blancpain Endurance, there's Lamborghini, there's the European GT4 Series and Formula Renault 2.0 NEC, and the car's now being released then onto the formation lap, a chance to get some warmth into the Michelin tyres on which everybody runs. Towards the back of the grid, you see Julia Pankiewicz driving in the AVF car. Now, she knows Monza because she raced in the Italian Formula 4 Championship last season. Julia Pankiewicz drives number 42. At 28 there is Finlay Hutchinson for Mark Burdett Motorsport. Finlay, who is the youngest man on the grid at 16 years of age, born in this millennium in the year 2000. And he's been doing a lot of racing in random things, as often you find in the last months before a proper season starts, to get your licence up to standard. And so Finlay Hutchinson has been doing the new Super 7 Inter Series for Caterhams. He's been in the club level BMW Championship just to get signatures, just to do the miles. Now we'll see how he goes in a slicks and wing single-seater. So the field working its way out of the second chicane, the Variante della Roggia, and the way they will line up at the end of this lap, back for a standing start, is Jehan Daruvala on pole position with Lando Norris, the Brit, with him at the front. Dorian Boccolacci starts third ahead of Nikita Troitsky. He goes from fourth. Then Max Deforny and Sasha Fenestras, fifth and sixth, ahead of the Russian driver Robert Schwarzman. Gabriel Aubry out-qualified Bruno Baptista. The Brit, Alex Gill, is 11th, ahead of Julien Falchero. And Will Palmer, the younger brother of Formula 1 driver Jolien, he is 12th, last year's BRD CF4 champion. James Allen, the Australian, 13th, ahead of Vasily Romanov and Alexei Kornev. Then it's Hugo de Sadelier, outpacing Enrico Chavez, back for another season, ahead of Finlay Hutchinson, we've talked about. Bartolomei Miretsky's back for another season. Nersis Iskakyan is 20th, Kasper Larsen 21st, Julia Pankiewicz is 22nd, and then 23rd is Lawrence Hur. So that is how they are going to line up, and the field turning its way out of the Variante Ascari and then up towards the grid in a few moments' time. 25 minutes of racing in prospect. In a sense, you might be tempted to put some money on Lando Norris, given that he is of great ability and knows his way around a Formula Renault car and has had a very good pedigree thus far, not only last year, but in fact in Ginetta Juniors going back 2 seasons. But Jehan Daruvala knows about Formula Renault cars that little bit better. He's had a full season of racing them, and he's also been here before in them, so he's got the knowledge himself. He's also, like his teammate, because they're both at Josef Kaufmann Racing, able to benefit from all of that data. So this could be an interesting battle between the two. So in a moment or two, we'll have the cars then ready to go. And as soon as the last car is in place, namely that of Lawrence Hur at the back of the grid, then we should be ready to go. There's going to be that traditional pinch point at the first chicane. The cars in full race trim can get up to approaching 248 kilometres an hour down to the first chicane, and then break down to 68 to wriggle their way through the right-left sequence, and then it takes them through the Curva Grande up towards the Variante della Roggia, with the two Lesmos at the top of the lap, the Variante Ascari being the third chicane, and then down to the Parabolica. The grid is formed. You're looking down onto the front of it, where Jehan Daruvala and Lando Norris sit for Josef Kaufmann Racing. And our ace GP, Max Deforny's squad, he's 5th on the grid. The team looks at the monitors to see the television coverage, to see the timing data as well, to see in the sectors how its driver is doing. And we are just about ready to go. The fabled Monza banking in the background looms over modern-day single-seater racing. And the grid is formed. That green flag that the marshal shows says that everybody is in position and we are good to go. The opening round of Formula Renault 2.0 NEC from Monza he goes. The lights go out and a good start made by Daruvala from pole position. Lando Norris tries to get up the inside. The road is blocked then. He has to think about the outside line. Can he make the move? Yes, he pulls out of the draft. He heads down towards the first chicane. We're trying to go with them as well there. Dorian Boccolacci, who's got the inside line and locks up, but Daruvala makes a mess of it. Scrabbles a little bit wide into that first chicane. Around the outside look goes Boccolacci to get ahead of Lando Norris. He goes second. Good driving by Boccolacci then. Lando Norris on his toes tries to fight back as they work their way through the Curva Grande for the first time. And that little bottleneck really was caused going into the first chicane by Daruvala, arriving a little bit too quickly, almost scrabbling out wide. Side by side for the lead and side by side for third. Norris in danger of losing his third spot. Daruvala hangs onto the race lead. And as they wriggle their way out of the chicane, Nikita Troitsky just levelling with Norris. There's drama in the background, one in the gravel. Daruvala still leads the way. He's fending off all comers here, and there's somebody with a problem there. Look, a legacy of the incident at the second chicane. So, race order, Daruvala leading in second spot, Justice Boccolacci. Norris is third, Troitsky runs fourth. And then Max Deforny is there in fifth place as the cars head now down towards the Variante Ascari for the first time. It has been a lively first lap of the race. Down to that third chicane then. Daruvala heads the pack. And Lando Norris then has lost out. He's fallen back one further position as the cars wriggle their way through the Variante Ascari. Max Stefani making progress now, working his way up towards the tail of that little gaggle ahead of him. But Daruvala aims to build the advantage, and so far so good then as they come down now towards the Parabolica. Is he getting away from the hard-charging Dorian Boccolacci in second place? Big lock-up by Nikita Troitsky there as he goes into the Parabolica. That's not going to help the front right Michelin, and Lando Norris will be able to attack possibly because he'll have better momentum coming out of the corner. Great little battle going on behind as well, because the next pair have got themselves side by side heading up towards the line. Stefani is in the mix of all of this, so is Schwarzman as the leaders go through. Daruvala to Boccolacci then. Third is Troitsky, fourth is Norris, fifth is Stefani. In sixth place now is Sasha Fenestrez. In seventh place it is Alex Gill. And again, there's a big lock-up at the first chicane from Daruvala. Here comes Norris back up the inside of Troitsky to try to take third. Can't do it. In fifth place, running right with them, is Max Stefani. So it's 5 for the race lead now. 1 lap done. And the cars work their way with 22.5 minutes through the Curva Grande. Little pockets of battles rage on up and down the order, but Jahan Daruvala still having to defend for all he's worth. Dorian Boccolacci to the outside line. He's done it. He's got his nose in front and through he goes. Boccolacci leads. Lando Norris back up into third as well. And now Max Stefani tries to make the run up the inside. Well, he's blocked by Norris, but he's got himself ahead of Troitsky, who then switches sides. You can slipstream round Monza, you can overtake in this type of single-seater. Jahan Daruvala has lost that lead then. Dorian Boccolacci is the man in front. Daruvala drops to second, and then third, Lando Norris under pressure from Max Stefani. What a great start to the season. That's a lap and a half in the book. We're not done yet. Is Boccolacci going to get away, or is there more to come? Up towards the Variante Ascari they come. The road plunges downhill, it rises to the chicane, but Boccolacci, you would suggest, is getting away by a length or so. Leading quintet through. In sixth place now, Alex Gill has managed to gain some ground also. Gill back for another season, former Formula Renault BARC champion, driving for Mark Bidet Motorsport now, the Doncaster driver. But the leader heads once more down towards the Parabolica. There's a spinner in the background rejoining. We'll come to him in a moment. As through the Parabolica goes Boccolacci, and at the end of the straight there, because of the slipstream, the leading gaps have all come down. Cars running much, much closer to one another. Over the timing line now, Boccolacci to lead the way. Daruvala in second place. So from Formula 3 down to Formula Renault seems to be a good step in a way. Go down to go up for Dorian Boccolacci because he leads at the end of lap 2 by 0.4 of a second. Daruvala running second, then third, fourth and fifth. Norris ahead of Stefani, ahead of Nikita Troitsky, and there's Stefani round the outside of Lando Norris, and he takes third place with some really brave driving round the outside into the first chicane, and it has worked for him. Through the Rettifilio, Stefani up to third, and there's been an incident between Vasily Romanov and Hugo de Sadelier, and that's under investigation as now Norris tries to fight back on the inside of the Curva Grande, and with them is Nikita Troitsky, 3 wide. Who does Norris defend from? He's in the middle as the leader has a huge lock-up. Round the outside goes Troitsky, 5th to 3rd. Great bit of driving. This is fantastic. The race leader is Dorian Boccolacci. Second is Jahan Daruvala, and the rest is almost changing at every corner. Max Stefani up and down the order. He's down to, 5th now. Up to 3rd has gone Nikita Troitsky. The fastest lap of the race, by the way, has been done by the man in 16th place, Alexei Konev. And there, further down the order, Bartolomei Miretsky tries to fend off all comers. He's got Enrique Chavez tucked up behind him as well as they squabble over 14th place. Right, here they come for the race lead. Third time into the Variante Ascari. And Boccolacci fending them all off. People doing good sector times now, including Alex Gill. And that is a big, big mistake being made, heading down towards the Variante Ascari. That's going to shuffle the order as well, because a big lock-up there has served to really delay. So the leader heads down towards the Parabolica. Boccolacci ahead of Daruvala, then it's Troitsky, then it is Norris, then it's Stefani. And this battle pack turns its way through the Parabolica. Side by side, wheel to wheel, up towards the timing line, over which now goes Boccolacci. So Troitsky running in that 3rd spot, 4th is Norris, 5th now is Stefani. Gill in 6th, 7th it is Gabriel Aubry. In 8th place, having dropped back, is Robert Schwarzman. 9th now is Sasha Fenestrez. And there, again, the battle is on, because down towards that first chicane, Max Stefani tries to hustle his way back ahead of Alex Gill, which he succeeds in so doing. Gill is taking now Gabriel Aubry with him. Incidentally, in 11th place at the moment is Bruno Baptista. normally one to watch, and he's behind Will Palmer. Will rounding out the top 10 because it's not a Formula 1 weekend. His father is here, and so is his brother. So Jonathan's cheering from the pit garage, and also Jolyon is here, and he will present prizes as a Renault Formula 1 driver post-race. So the race leader is Dorian Boccolacci, half a second the advantage when he came through at the end of the previous lap. Looking to see who else has been in trouble on that last lap and fallen down the order, because we saw one or two cars slithering out wide, including Vasily Romanov. There through is Alex Gill, 6th at the start of this lap. Will Palmer, number 14, who drives for our Ace GP, looking now to see what he can do about gaining ground, heading down towards the Variante Ascari. Looks to the inside, but there's no way through there, not yet at least. Now, if he's really good here in the toe, he might be able to make a move through the Parabolica, but the trouble is, much as he's trying to attack, he's also got to try to defend. There's another queue of cars right on the tail of the reigning BRDC F4 champion. Into the Parabolica they come. Palmer round the outside. Is that going to pay off for him? It's a very brave effort, but it looks like it has. He comes out with his nose in front, and so the leaders over the line now. But look at that great scrum of cars pouring out of the Parabolica. What, 6 in a big, big cluster? Over the line they come. Palmer up into 11th spot then, up into the top 10, number 5, Vasily Romanov, but it's all going to change again. Look, heading down towards the Rettifilo. Here they come. Palmer on the inside line. Is it this time to try and squeeze through? Does it work for him? It's like a rolling start. 7 of them in a big, big gaggle. Bartolomei Miretsky in the green and black car there, right in the mix as well, as they work their way now through the right-hander that takes them from the Curva Grande up towards the second of the chicanes. So in this battle, there is Palmer, there is Bruno Baptista, there is also now Julien Falchero, and 3 abreast again into the braking zone. Something's got to give in all of this, you would think, before much longer, and it nearly does there as cars rattle over the curbs. The race-leading advantage is just under a second. Max de Forny up to 7th, having dropped back a lap or so ago. He's fought his way back into the mix now at the expense of Robert Schwarzman further up the road. At the back of that leading 9 now is number 11, Sacha Fenestres. And then the next long line is for 10th place. There is Fenestres through the Variante Ascari. So that leading 9 of Scarpin, and then behind you've got Vasily Romanov versus Will Palmer versus Bruno Baptista, and everybody else really thrown in for good measure. Now, how's the lead gap doing? It has been going down this time in the sectors. So Jahan Daruvala fighting back as they work their way around the Parabolica. Up towards the timing line they come, and still 15 minutes of the race remain. Past the pits, down towards the Rettifilo they go, the first of the chicanes. Half a second, that's all the advantage is between the top 2. It's still Dorian Boccolacci ahead of Jahan Daruvala. And as they go now, down towards the right-left flick, see what's going on behind. 10th still is Vasily Romanov, 11th is Will Palmer, and look at this great scrum. And it's going to end in tears, surely, as 2 of them lock up. Different parts of the group. Whoops, way up over the curb and then over the car ahead. And that is 2 of the Russian drivers that have come to grief. One triggered it, one had nowhere to go. That's going to be a waved yellow flag, and it could be that the race has to be interrupted to move cars out of a dangerous spot there. I think one of those that we have just lost is Nersis Azakian. His is the car in the gravel bed. And who was it that he ran over the back of? Julien Falchero was involved in that. And also, I think, was Alexei Korniev. Yes, there's the replay of it. So, yeah, it was Korniev that made the mistake. He got clobbered, and in the end, with nowhere to go, was Isakian. So he gets out of the AVF car. The man that was 3rd in the F4 Championship last year in the Central European Zone. He walked away. Hopefully that's going to be out of the way before the leaders come through. Werner Eichinger is not a man that will throw a safety car just for the sake of it. If he can get away with a yellow flag and the drivers behave themselves, then that's what he will do. So don't anticipate that that's going to be a safety car period to move the car out of harm's way. If a yellow flag will do and the drivers behave themselves, then the race director will be happy to continue the battle. So what you've now got is this great big gap after 10th and 11th. because now, after Vasily Romanov and Will Palmer, there's the hole where that previous battle would have been, and then the rest. There's Bartolomew Miretsky coming through in the BM Racing Team car, the Pole in his second season in this championship. And the lead gap was 0.6 of a second when they crossed the line out of the Parabolica. It looks less to the eye at the end of the pit straight at Loretta Filio. In third place still, Nikita Troitsky. Lando Norris fourth, and we've not really focused on him for a lap or two, but the Brit not making the progress that you might have anticipated early on. He lost out a little bit on that second lap scrum, and a bit also the same way as Max Deforny. They're struggling to get back up the order, whereas Dorian Boccolacci, having worked so hard to hit the front, has a huge lock-up, and Daruvula measures his pace against Boccolacci, and off he goes through the escape road, back onto the circuit, hangs on to his second place, but Daruvula was, I think, working out his braking point based on when Boccolacci did it. Boccolacci outbraked himself, and Daruvula was in an even worse situation. And just to add to this, some spots of rain are now starting to fall. Is it localised? Is it all the way around? We'll see how that's going to affect lap times. The best lap of the race at the moment is a 1 minute 50.134. The race leaders head down towards the Valiante Ascari, the order remaining the same, Boccolacci from Daruvula, but now there Nikita Troitsky right on the back of Daruvula, and he has taken Lando Norris with him. So now it's all rather different, isn't it? Because what we have is the leader on his own. He's been able to gap the opposition. The incident that involved Narcis Isakian is under investigation, perhaps not surprisingly, but he was the innocent party in it. It was all triggered by zealotry further up the road. To the inside, to the outside there goes Troitsky, doing a really good job here, Nikita Troitsky. He was fourth in last year's NEC Formula 4 Championship, the SMP Series, and now he tries to get up the inside of Jahan Daruvula coming out of the Parabolica for second place, wheel to wheel over the timing line. Lando Norris could buy into this big time. The leader, Dorian Boccolacci, though, now has got a 1.2 second cushion. Troitsky to the inside in the red, white and blue colours. The grey, the black, the orange of Jahan Daruvula on the outside line. Who is going to blink first? Through into second place goes Nikita Troitsky. And Norris tries to find a way through, and he's got Alex Gill with him. Alex in his second year in this championship, he knows about the cars, and he's right on the back of Lando Norris. So as the leader, Dorian Boccolacci, now starts to get away, second, third, fourth and fifth still up for grabs. Lando Norris coming under attack, and he leaves the door open seemingly. Gill comes up on the inside, but that's going to be the outside for the approach to the chicane. Last of the late breakers, Gill brakes late, almost bangs into the side of Daruvula, and up the escape road he goes. You could kind of see it coming, couldn't you? Because you knew there was nowhere for him to go. He couldn't get back into the pack. So Daruvula escapes again. Norris is right onto his tail. And back down to fifth place has gone Alex Gill. And that therefore means that Nikita Troitsky has fallen a little bit out of that as well. Has he? No, sorry, having got that second place, he's moved by 3 lengths out of harm's way. So Daruvula is third, Norris fourth, and now fifth, getting into the mix as well, is Gabriel Aubry in the purple and white car. This is one of the most lively Formula Renault 2-litre NEC races we've had for a long, long time. And it's all partly down to the fact that it's just a great circuit, this, on which you can slipstream and things will happen. Somebody in strife there. Now, who is that limping into the white flag zone? That is number 17, Alexei Kornev, and he's going to pull out of the way. The leaders go through, and another lock-up from Jahan Daruvula. Tyres are not going to be in a very good state for one or two of these come the end of the race, and maybe those like Norris and Gabriel Aubry there, who have not been quite so aggressive, are going to be in a better state come the end of the race, because they'll have a far better tyre wear. And there is Max Deforny, who was in that leading group, and he has slowed right down. The R-Ace GP car is out of the race. Max Deforny, an early casualty then in this opening round of the championship. Very disappointing for him, as Norris is about to lose out. Gabriel Aubry round the outside there. Does it work for him? Wheel to wheel, Norris gets squeezed up onto the curb, and Gabriel Aubry is coming through. He was third in last year's French F4 Championship, Gabriel Aubry. He is new to Formula Renault, but you wouldn't think it. Through he goes, gains the place. Right, what else have we got to shake out of this race? Because I can't believe we're done yet. Not the way it's been going. Dorian Boccolacci leads the way then. Side by side there, Alex Gill, but losing out, I fear, as Robert Schwarzman tries to sort him out. Slippery surface flag now, because it's getting a little bit damp out in the far side of the circuit. Alex Gill loses the spot as they go through the Lesmo bends, the two right-handers. That's the first short straight, then into the second. So just under 9 minutes of the race remain. Dorian Boccolacci ahead of a very feisty Nikita Troitsky, and then Jahan Daruvula in third. I'm still concerned about the longevity of Daruvala's tyres because he's given them so much grief. That said, so has Boccolacci actually in this race. He's also been pretty robust with his braking. Alex Gill riding the curbs, coming down towards the Variante Ascari once more. So 8.5 minutes are on the clock. And that indicates how the weather conditions are changing. So the best lap is a 1 minute 50. Last lap was a 1 minute 53. So definitely conditions are deteriorating. Now, if it gets really bad, are we going to go the distance? Because if they're on slicks on a very wet and greasy road, will the race director elect to halt proceedings on safety grounds? We'll have to keep an eye not only to lap times, but also the amount of rain falling. Max Stefani is limped, as you see, to the pit lane as over the line. Lando Norris gets back up alongside Gabriel Aubry. And they're not that far behind Jahan Daruvula either. Can they fight for third? Daruvula defends on the way down to the Rettifilo. They brake, they turn right, but again Daruvula with a little puff of tar smoke suggests that he's locking up. He scrabbles right, he scrabbles left. They get back onto the power now and set off once more to the Curva Grande. Nose to tail, Norris back ahead of Aubry then. This is the fight for fourth, and it's very nearly a three-way fight for third. Daruvula is on borrowed time, I reckon, because he's fading into the clutches of Lando Norris. He's dropping a long way back from Nikita Troitsky. Troitsky is the leading rookie in the race, incidentally, in second spot overall. Slippery surface flag still out. The last lap that they did was a 1:53 again, so lap times are certainly being affected by the change in the weather conditions. But that said, he says, tempting fate, we've not had a lot of people hurling themselves at the scenery. Max Stefani has just rejoined the race, by the way, so whatever the problem was, he's been dispatched back into the race to see now whether, treat this like a test session, it's all cured for the second race, which is tomorrow morning. Gabriel Aubry to the outside of Lando Norris in the red and white car. Up the brow they come. Now towards the Variante Ascari. Norris brakes as late as he dares, but round the outside again goes Gabriel Aubry. That's a really brave move, and it again pays off for him. Nose to tail now, they make the run onto that back straight, heading down towards the Parabolica. Dorian Boccolacci has just been creeping away. He's a second and a half to the good now. In second spot, it is still Nikita Troitsky, but this is for third. Daruvula in the silver and black car. Fourth in the purple and white was Aubry, but again, round the outside goes Lando Norris in the orange and white colours of Josef Kaufmann Racing. And not only does he take the place, he suddenly gaps Aubry, and he's right on the tail of Jahan Daruvula, and gets a tow and makes a move, coming over the line. Side by side they run. Lando Norris pulls out, makes the move. Can he move across and defend? Yes, he can. Easy peasy lemon squeezy down towards the first chicane. Great move by Norris. To the outside, tries to go Jahan Daruvula, but that was more in hope than in anticipation. It doesn't work, so now Daruvala's going to have to stave off the challenge of Gabriel Aubry. And as the leaders work their way up towards the Curva Grande, Dorian Boccolacci's advantage is 1.7 seconds. Now, some of the teams are thinking laterally here, and that means get the wet tyres ready just in case they're going to be needed. So you can see some of the marshals trackside with the waterproofs on, the hoods up. But although lap times are hovering about 3 seconds slower, we're not having people flinging themselves off the road. So track conditions not that bad, and of course the tyres, having got plenty of warmth in, are still going to be able to be useful, have some traction, still have the temperature to work, even on a slightly greasy surface now. Only if the rain really becomes bad, I think, are they going to struggle. So they should be good for 5 more minutes, unless the heavens open. Now Gabriel Aubry coming under attack from Robert Schwarzman. And Schwarzman, believe it or not, has just done the absolute best in the first sector of anybody in the race, be it wet or dry. So Schwarzman is a man on a mission. And the whole complexion of this race could well be changing the further through we go. Can Lando Norris do anything now about Nikita Troitsky for second place? Down to the Parabolica they come. Race leader Dorian Boccolacci has a little look in his mirrors to see where Troitsky is. They're third, the red-nosed car of Lando Norris, but Jahan Daruvula pulls out, thinks about making a move. Norris gave him racing room, but he wasn't really on, so Daruvula slots back in behind as they work their way through the Parabolica, up towards the timing line. 4 minutes and change on the clock. Past the pits, Monza, another of the circuits where the start and finish line are in different places. The finish line, the timing line, is out of the Parabolica, the start line midway down the straight. And there, Gabriel Aubry has to make his move to try to retake the place up on the inside, which he does, gets himself back ahead of Robert Schwarzman as they go down towards the Rettifilo. And now behind the pair is Sasha Fenestras for Tech 1 Racing. Now the lead gap is 1.8 seconds. Who currently is the quickest man on the circuit? It remains the race leader. So Dorian Boccolacci away and gone up front. He's got this 1.8 second cushion in hand, and there Schwarzman through on the inside and getting the chicane to keep Fenestras behind. So 23 cars we started with, and we've lost a fair few along the way. 2 are in the pit lane, 2 are trackside. One of which is in the gravel, as we saw in another casualty of the dramas earlier on, Julien Fauchereau. His car without the rear wing, a retirement after the contretemps down at the Rettifilio. So, 3 minutes on the clock for the leaders as they will exit in a moment the Variante Ascari. A flying lap is at the moment a 1 minute 52. The lap times are getting quicker, by the way, so I think that threat of rain is receding. So they're going to get 2 more laps out of the race, aren't they? Time for the one they're about to start, and one more as Lando Norris still running in that 3rd place. I've got Johan de Ruvela behind him. Down they come, into the right at the Parabolica. There is Gabriel Aubry. Behind is this battle now with Schwarzman, then Sacha Fenestras. Alex Gill, somebody else that's been yo-yoing up and down the order in this race, and having been dumped down, he's trying to fight his way back into the mix. He has got ahead once more of Vasily Romanov, but as the leaders work their way over the timing line, through goes Boccolacci. He's now 1.9 seconds up on Troitsky, so it's looking even better for him. So there's time for this on one more lap. Gabriel Aubry goes through, keeping Schwarzman at bay, and there, look, is the next battle between Sacha Fenestras, and then right with them as well now is Vasily Romanov. So after that great hectic scrub for the race lead early on, still places up for grabs, now pairs rather than pockets of cars. Side by side they run here, heading up towards the 2nd chicane, and the leader makes a mess of it. Dorian Boccolacci goes off the road, over the curb went Nikita Troitsky. Well, Dorian Boccolacci had such a big advantage, it didn't really affect him too much, but that is the part of the circuit, as somebody else goes up the escape road, that was catching people out in the earlier Blancpain practice session for the GT cars, and it's catching out Formula Renault drivers. Again, it just seems that that 2nd chicane is the one local spot where the rain comes. So how much does that put Boccolacci off his stride? It's put other people off the road. Umbrellas up. Any more to go up the escape road? I have a horrible feeling yes before the end, but there's going to be one more lap to run at the end of this. The race leader, Dorian Boccolacci, then works his way down towards the Parabolica once more. The fastest lap of the race done by Robert Schwarzman, who currently runs in 6th place. He drove also in the German as well as Russian F4 series last year. Son of a wealthy tulip importer, Robert Schwarzman. But the leader, Dorian Boccolacci, is clear up front. Everything else has a big question mark over it. Troitsky ahead of Norris, then de Ruvela. For 4th place, de Ruvela or Aubry. That is not yet resolved, far from it. Schwarzman comes next ahead of the Fenestras and then Romanov battle over the timing line. Now, you can see how close Gabriel Aubry is to losing his 5th place. Robert Schwarzman pulls out of the draft. He's got the inside line right the way down to the chicane, but has he got out of the draft? Staying on the back. And now, if he's really brave under braking, he should be able to make that move, which he does. Inside for part 1 is the outside for part 2, and it's Aubry who gets squeezed all over the curb. He's going to lose one spot again if he's not careful, because now both Fenestras and Romanov are right there as well, looking for a way past. Side by side, Gabriel Aubry on the inside line. The Tech 1 car of Sacha Fenestras on the outside, and right there with them also you can see is Vasily Romanov in the Fortec colours as they come now into the chicane. Through the Variante della Roggia, up towards the Lesmo Benz. We're on the last lap of what has been a really good first race of this year's Formula Renault 2-litre NEC. And if they all carry on like this, we're in for an absolutely great season. Silverstone is the next stop. As there, the battle rages lower down the order. Will Palmer sorting out 77, which is Laurence Heur. So Will Palmer, who lost some places a few laps back, fights back, retakes the place and defends very resolutely indeed on the way up towards the first Lesmo. But round the outside comes Laurence Heur. Now, he was the man that started 23rd on the grid, Laurence Heur, and he's up to 12 spots. It's been a really good drive, this. He's had to battle his way through. I know 1 or 2 drivers have had their woes, but he's done a lot of overtaking in this race as the 18-year-old. And so the Stuttgart driver back up ahead of Palmer now, retaking his 12th place. But the checkered flag is at the ready, and Dorian Boccolacci is on target to win the opening round of this year's championship. They come through the Parabolica. The flag is at the ready, and it's going to be a win for Dorian Boccolacci because as he powers his way up towards the checkered flag, Dorian Boccolacci wins the opening round of Formula Renault 2.0 NEC for 2016 ahead of Nikita Troitsky. In third place, Lando Norris. Fourth goes the way of Jahan Daruvala, just ahead of Robert Schwartzman. Gabriel Aubry, sixth. Sasha Fenestraz, seventh. Eighth goes the way of Vasily Romanov. Alex Gill takes ninth. And 10th all to go the way of Enrique Chavez, unless there's drama on the last lap. But Dorian Boccolacci, after a pretty trying season in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship last year, opens his Formula Renault NEC account with a win. And that is going to be a very good result, not just for him, but also for the Tech 1 racing team to start this championship campaign. There are other Formula Renault championships, but this is the one that many are focused on. It goes to some great venues: Monza, Silverstone, Hungaroring, Spa, Nürburgring, all Grand Prix venues, Hockenheimring, and the Assen event on the calendar as well. The Assen weekend, the first weekend of August, where it's part of the Hammer Racing Festival, where they get 80,000 people for this mixture of cars and bike racing. It's a fantastic weekend, and Formula Renault NEC takes centre stage. So, Tech 1 celebrates. Take one, Tech 1. A victory for the French team, and the marshals applaud some very brave driving. Those first few hectic laps gave tremendous entertainment, and through it all, Dorian Boccolacci is victorious. And many of the stalwart Monza marshals have seen young drivers come through the ranks and then return here for the Grand Prix. There may well be one or two more names that will do just that out of that entry. It was a 14-lap race in the end. Dorian Boccolacci, the winner, ahead of Nikita Troitsky. Lando Norris bags third ahead of Jahan Daruvala. In fifth, Robert Schwartzman, who also got the fastest lap of the race. Sixth was Gabriel Aubry. Sasha Fenestraz, seventh from Vasily Romanov. Alex Gill, ninth. Hugo de Sadovia, in the end, rounded out the top 10 ahead of Enrique Chavez. And Lawrence Herr was the change for 10th on the last lap of the race. Outside the top dozen, Will Palmer was in 13th place. 14th, James Allen, the Australian. Behind him, Bartolomei Mielecki. Finlay Hutchinson was 16th. 17th was Kasper Larsen. In 18th place, Julia Pankiewicz ahead of Max de Forney after his pit stop. He was a couple of laps down, and others had their own problems, be them mechanical or with damage. So the Formula Renault 2-litre NEC season has kicked off in style. Let's have a look at some of the highlights of what was certainly a very entertaining start to the championship year. And it all began with people locking up and scrabbling their way through that first chicane. Everybody survived, more or less, only to get to the second chicane, where there was more of the same. But despite all the frenetic racing, there was surprisingly little contact on the early laps. The contact would come, though, and the one that it eliminated in the end was the unfortunate, and indeed the innocent, Narcis Isakian, the Russian driver, out of the race. And so that then brought more confusion because the weather conditions just started to be affected, with spots of rain falling. And in the end, Dorian Boccolacci through as a race winner. The winning margin in the end, 3 seconds over Nikita Troitsky, and Lando Norris in third spot. Well, the drivers now will make their way to the podium, where, as I think I mentioned during the race, Julian Palmer will be one of the dignitaries here to present awards to the drivers. I think the initial hope was that his brother was going to be there, but that has not happened. Will's first race in the NEC not giving quite as good a result as he might have wanted. The podium there is ready, and apart from Julian Palmer, Filippo Zania, the Renault Sport International Series coordinator, is going to be ready to make the presentations. Dorian Boccolacci, the winner. Second place, just to remind you, Nikita Troitsky, and third, Lando Norris. The best team was Tech 1. The best rookie was Nikita Troitsky, and that podium will be getting underway very shortly. There is, for the majority of the Blancpain GT Cup endurance rounds, Formula Renault as a support race, and indeed that will be the same for Silverstone, which is where this championship moves to next, the weekend of May 13, 14 and 15. And I would commend it to you, because not only are GT cars around Silverstone's Grand Prix circuit a stirring sight, but very definitely it'll be a good venue for Formula Renault, because it's nice and wide, and the full Grand Prix circuit with its real mix of corners stimulates lots of overtaking, lots of good racing there to look forward to. Tomorrow's race, the second round of the championship, is at 10:25. Again, live streaming of that. Join us if you can. And the recovery operation has now started as the errant Formula Renaults are being retrieved from around the circuit. So the drivers have to make their way through the post-race technical checks, and the cars will go to Parc Fermé, ready for scrutineering. And then, when the officials are happy, then the drivers will be released up the stairs, ready for the podium, which awaits. And shortly, as I say, we'll be able to get the podium ceremony underway. The course cars, you can see, getting themselves ready for the next race, because it's a busy day for the fans here at Monza. Lots of racing, lots of qualifying sessions, and it all culminates tomorrow with the 3-hour Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup race. Somewhere in all of that is a wingless Formula Renault being retrieved after the dramas that befell Julien Falchereau mid-race. So we shall, in a moment, get ready for the podium ceremony at the end of the opening race in the Formula Renault 2-litre NEC 2015. As I say, the next stop, Silverstone. Then the championship moves to the Hungaroring, and there the series officials are ready, and that therefore means that in a moment the drivers will venture forward as well. After Hungaroring, it is Spa, supporting the 24 hours, then Assen, then Nürburgring and Hockenheim to round out the season. So Lando Norris, for third place, steps forward. The second place driver, Nikita Troitsky, will make his way to the podium as well. And then Dorian Boccolacci will make his way to the top step at the end of what was a very impressive drive. And as I said, after a difficult Formula 3 year last year with signature Dorian Boccolacci, remembering the late Jules Bianchi on his overall stands on the top step of the podium. There's also going to be the best placed team, which is Tech 1, and the best rookie, which is Nikita Troitsky. Jolyon Palmer hands over the trophy to Lando Norris as we have the national anthem of the winning driver. So drivers put their caps back on, and now the continuation of the presentations, because there's a bit of a false start, I think, there, with Jolyon Palmer giving Lando Norris his trophy. But now the ceremony can be done. So Lando and Dorian Boccolacci discuss the lively first few laps, and there's more to come tomorrow. Right. So now the trophy to the second place driver from Filippo Zanier, the Renault Sport International Series coordinator, and then Jolyon Palmer, Renault's Formula 1 driver, steps forward to give the trophy to the race winner, which is Dorian Boccolacci. And a kiss of the trophy is another one for the collection of Tech 1, and then all the drivers huddle together on the top step of the podium. Nikita Troitsky in the largely blue overalls on the left as you look. He's also the top rookie. And with the photographs taken, there is champagne at the driver's feet. And I think this is a trio that is just about old enough to drink it, but certainly old enough to spray it. So Dorian Boccolacci it is who opens his account very successfully in Formula Renault 2.0 NEC for 2016. Have champagne, have trophy, now travel. And he will make his way away to the press conference, and to look forward to seeing if he can do the double tomorrow. The celebrations with the Tech 1 engineers are well and truly underway. So, very lively first round of the championship, no argument about that. Dorian Boccolacci is the first winner of Formula Renault 2-litre NEC for 2016. And tomorrow's race is at 10:25. Join us for that if you can. For now, from David Addison, bye-bye.